All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Detroit Lions in today's video. Free agency begins in 4 days, and I anticipate the Lions management to be relatively aggressive in specific facets. And what I mean by that is the cornerback room's got some question marks. Is Carlton Davis going to be re-signed? Opposite edge rusher of Aiden Hutchinson. I'm really curious about what the Lions are going to do in a couple of days when free agency officially begins, because offensively, I know their biggest loss was Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator. I don't really have any flaws offensively. Obviously, maybe some guard depth, some guard talent, wide receiver depth, blah, 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 all that stuff, perfectly fine with it. But I want to prioritize in today's video defense, because I think a player like Chase Young in the last couple of days has really been interesting to me as far as a situation where the Lions miss out on a Myles Garrett. Obviously, Max Crosby, he just signed an extension with the Las Vegas Raiders, so he's a no-go. Myles Garrett is like every Lions dream. It's every NFC contender's dream situation right now. But just assuming they don't actually trade for Myles Garrett, I want to bring up a couple of alternatives that would make sense for this team, because you have to pay Aiden, Jameson Williams. You got to pay a bunch of different players. And they went 15-2 last season. And I could sit here and just talk about that. 14-point loss at home, 15-2. Against a rookie QB, absolutely infuriating. And I don't want the Lions to be in a situation like this ever, ever, ever again. So when we look at opposite edge rushers, Aiden Hutchinson, because of Marcus Davenport last season, with or without Za'Darius Smith, I'm looking at a couple of different players, and that's what we're going to talk about. But before we do, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. I apologize, I haven't made a Lions video on this channel in like 2 weeks. I was going to Mexico. I was trying to prep a bunch of different videos, and Myles Garrett had just requested a trade, and I felt like I was a little bit unfair to my Lions fan base when I looked back on that video, so I ended up deleting it. Myles is the dream, but at the end of the day, like I said, there's a lot of extensions, and as good of a Myles Garrett would be, they have a version of that. Aiden Hutchinson really is that good. And I think just because we haven't seen Aiden Hutchinson play football in so long, that, Myles Garrett seems like a perfect fit, when at reality, they have their own version of Myles Garrett. So I want to turn our attention to Chase Young, who's really intrigued me recently. 26 years old, 6'5", 264. I'm 25 years old. So it feels like Chase Young, for me personally, because we're the same-ish age, it feels like Chase Young's been in the NFL for 10 seasons, but he hasn't. He's coming off a really decent year with the New Orleans Saints. The year before that, obviously, Lions fans remember him with the San Francisco 49ers. But this past season, he didn't actually start a game for the New Orleans Saints. He signed like a $13 million contract before the season began, so you're going to be able to get him cheaper. But he had 66 quarterback pressures, which was 9th in the NFL, 21 quarterback hits, which was 16th in the NFL. So very decent statistics. And I think Casey Rogers, the new Lions defensive line coach, would be able to extract as much as possible from Chase Young. But if you're not feeling that, I'll talk about a couple others. I'm not too big on Azeez Ojulari because of health. When you watch the Lions in the last season, all I really care about is health. Now, the good side with Azeez, I think you could pair him with Za'Darius, because he's a pass rusher who will come at a pretty affordable price. He's played just one full season. He had 8 sacks in his rookie campaign in 2021. But because of injuries, it's just limited him. And they only played 11 games this past season for the New York Giants. More of a situational pass rusher, which is why I would like his fit on the Lions. He's only 24, which is also a good side. 6 sacks, 28 tackles in 2024, if you are wondering. And then we have Matthew Judon, who I'm not too huge on. He started his 2023 year with the New England Patriots very strong. He had 4 sacks in 4 games, and then he tore his bicep, so it cut his year short. The Atlanta Falcons last year made a move for him, but it was very underwhelming. The good news is for Matthew Judon, outside of 2 years, he's been very durable. But last year with the Falcons, in 17 games played, he only had 9 quarterback hits, 5.5 sacks, and 41 total tackles. So I think at 33, I'm all set on Matthew Judon coming to the Detroit Lions. Once again, kind of just reminds me of Zadarius Smith. Pat Jones is our last edge rusher. And just to make it clear, Chase Young would be my preferred guy. We'll talk about the draft in 1 second here, though. Don't worry. Pat Jones is interesting because he's 26, 6'4", 264, 2021 third-round pick. He just recorded a career-high 7 sacks in his 4th season with the Minnesota Vikings, but he's better as a pass rusher. He's not the best rush defender, so he usually lines up in the interior in passing situations. He had a really good week 11, but outside of that, he did not register a sack or a quarterback hit in the final 10 games of the Minnesota Vikings season. But keep in mind, he only had 1 technical start this past year. So I moved towards the draft because I'm feeling that, like, by the way, there's more edge rushers out there like Khalil Mack, Myles Garrett, et cetera, et cetera. But once again, the Lions need to be a little bit more smart, not smarter with their money, but you need to be a little bit more aware of it just because of this championship window and all these star players you have that you're either already paying or about to pay. So the Lions have the 28th overall pick. And here's where it gets interesting. I've seen mock drafts where Shemar Stewart, the edge rusher out of A&M, goes to the Lions at 28. I've also seen mock drafts where he goes like number 7 to the New York Jets. And then I just read a mock draft where they had James Pierce Jr., edge rusher out of Tennessee, go to the Lions at pick 28. But I've also seen mock drafts where he goes in the top 10. So I don't think they're going to be able to select a Shemar Stewart. I don't think they're going to be able to select a James Pierce Jr. And that's actually what makes it so complicated is free agency begins in 4 days and the draft's not for a month and like 2 weeks. We're like 6 or 7 weeks out from the NFL draft, but free agency starts in a couple of days. So if the Lions go out there and trade for a Myles Garrett, obviously they're not spending their first round pick on an edge rusher. If they sign a Chase Young or an Azeez Ojulari, Matthew Judon, any of those players we just mentioned, obviously they're not taking an edge rusher at pick number 28. But I do love the idea. But once again, I have to preface this with I don't think James Pierce will be available at 28. I don't think a guy like Shemar Stewart will be available at pick number 28. But honestly, if they are available, no matter how the Lions spend their free agency, I think you just have to kind of take a prospect like that. But anyways, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. We have free agency beginning once again. Take a shot in 4 days. So just keep that in mind. We'll get live action, news, rumors, all that fun stuff once free agency officially begins for the Lions. But folks, let me know your thoughts on the opposite edge rusher for the Lions this upcoming season down below. Thank you for watching. That's all I got. Peace.